Yeah, and then fully vaccinated, you don't need to wear a mask.
That's what I thought.
So everybody stays 6 feet away. If they don't want to wear a mask, then that's okay. Whatever.
Right.
I don't know if it matters or not, or if we are allowed to ask, but how many of us are fully vaccinated in the room?
You can ask.
You can ask, they don't have to answer, so everybody, almost.
No, I'm just saying, if everyone is, then I guess we can take the mask off. Bear with me a second. And here it is. Is, do we just have a letter from the assessor's agent or?
She's here, she's here.
She's- okay.
It's incognito.
Yeah.
That's right, mine in the
Where's
back.
that?
Oh, there you are.
So you guys sent me back last time to go over my budget and see if I could do the reval or whatever you're calling it.
Yeah.
So Pam says there's $30,000 in reserve, and I think I can do that. I would like to have Steve Cook help me. That's included in the number. Go up a little bit on the mapping, it's on my little list there, and if you use the same budget you've been using for the last few years for Tom, I think we could do it for my just regular time.
Yeah, I don't think it was gonna be a full reval, I think it was a reassessment for,
Well, I still gotta visit all the properties.
yeah, okay.
And that's what's
So
gonna
full
take time.
reval would be lots and lots more money.
Right.
Than what you expect.
We can do the analysis after we have the information, but at least we get the records updated, the pictures, the sketches, and the information.
As I recall, the reason we were doing it, maybe was sort of leaning more towards a full, I don't know. But because of the percentage that we need to be at for the state, we were getting close to where we wouldn't be meeting it anymore.
Well, we're
We're at
within,
99% right now, but next year is gonna be a very different story.
Well,
For every town, because of the ridiculous sales right now.
well, that's it, there's been a lot of sales and it's,
It also looks like Tom did some work on the waterfront stuff.
Yeah.
Before I got here, so that would have been part of it.
yeah, I think it was more of an equalization than,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a lot of buildings up there.
Okay, so, basically you're saying we don't need to set anything more in the reserve this coming year?
I don't think so, if you keep the assessor's agent at 15,000 instead of what I was starting. That gives me a little buffer,
yeah, okay. Yeah, that's,
so you wouldn't have to raise any more for the reserve.
So you mentioned Steve Cook is
Yep.
willing to help you out. What would the two roles be? What would your role be?
So
What would
Steve
do?
lives in town,
Yep.
and so he would be what we refer to as a lister. So he would go out and visit each site with a property card, make a note of what's changed, take a new picture for us, and he would leave, I'm hoping we can leave a survey to ask about the inside. I haven't been going into buildings with COVID, so the survey asks how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, kind of gives you a sense of, if granite countertop versus like that. Just gives me a sense without going in the room of what's happening inside. There's a lot of buildings in town that have been renovated, and I don't know how many have been picked up as far as the value for that.
Would Steve's work be compensated or is he doing
Yes,
this on?
$10 per house, basically, your site visit, which is a normal listing fee. And then I would follow him, which would work really well, and do the updates on the computer and get everything updated there.
Yeah.
I just can't be here enough days to make that.
right, well, it makes sense anyway, that's all, what you need is
Right.
that data, you
Right.
don't have to physically look at it.
And he could go, a couple hours a day and still
Yeah.
have his full day.
There's a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I think we could do it for next commitment, if Steve is the one doing it.
All right,
Thank you.
Amy, when you have a chance, could you check with Pam to see that that 15,000 has been moved across? Because last time I looked, it was still sitting there.
Into the reserve, yeah.
It hadn't been put in. the
I know it was
reserve.
in the budget line, but yeah.
Oh, it's budgeted, but
Yeah.
if it doesn't get moved before June 30th, there's a problem.
Okay.
well, I think the prior one got moved, I thought that we had an account, but yeah,
Yeah,
check with
it did.
Pam, with the first amount that went in,
Right.
But the second round probably hasn't been put in before we need to do that then before we close the books.
Would it be reasonable to expect that once you have established a start date, that we would notify the town? We would
Oh,
notify the
absolutely, I
residents?
would be right up. I have one time I was
Yeah.
doing like posts on Facebook, what street we're on even. Just so people can get a sense of where we are.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It's on our website, okay, he's gonna be doing this section today, or,
Yep.
you know,
Or
this
is where
week
we're
or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
And people follow it.
Yeah.
Sure.
you have a question out there, Tom?
Wait.
Did I hear you say you post on Facebook?
It was just a suggestion that we somehow post it so you know where we are.
Well, there are people
I
that
understand.
aren't on Facebook or
On
Twitter.
Facebook.
I'm sure we'll find a way.
Yeah, well, on the website probably would be the best.
Yeah,
you know, would be
actually,
the best way.
I
Then
don't
someone
think
can check.
the town has a presence on Facebook, so we probably wouldn't.
Yeah,
Well, that's fine, because I always check the website.
right, yeah. If a lot of people know it's happening, we can put out the word, check the website periodically to see, you know, if they're gonna be in your area or something like that.
We also can say something at town meeting.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, have everybody check.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Looks like that's it for you?
Yep.
Okay, thank
So I
you.
can go with that to the big guy with the budget?
I think so.
Yes,
Okay,
okay.
all right.
Thanks.
All right, so now we'll continue as selectmen. Next item is approve the minutes of May 3rd, 2021.
I have some edits,
All right,
corrections. In the first category, call the meeting to order. Chairperson Tom Von Mulder is identified and Selectman Gordon Page is identified. Linda Post is not identified as a select person.
Fine with me.
And we have to look at this as though we're reading this 5 years from now. Who the hell was that? Under assessors meeting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, on the 5th line, you refer to the budget committee, you refer to Bob Hirsch as the budget committee president. He's the budget committee chair. He's not the president. He may want to be.
I don't even want to be chair.
In the next paragraph, under assessors meeting, Eleanor, you make the statement, she presents them with a ratio declaration from the state. Please identify who she is specifically as the assessor's agent, Amy Dunn. And then toward the bottom, under old business, it states that select person posting page asked that the Historical Society be involved in the planning of this celebration, but it doesn't make reference to what the celebration is, so please identify that as the 100th anniversary celebration. And I had a question on the same report. It makes reference to there's currently a balance of $47,64.43 from the previous celebration in 1971. There was also a celebration in 1996 to celebrate the 75th anniversary. And I'm wondering if that money, it's probably doesn't matter, but is that all that money sitting there since 1971, or is it partially from 1996 as well?
I would say 96 as well.
Yeah, I don't remember. I know we raised some money. We had sold things and whatever.
Yeah, well, we did
Yeah.
there was a show and
Yeah,
parade.
Yeah, donations.
I
I
know
don't
we
know
had
if they're sold.
sponsorships.
I just went off
Right.
diecast because it still had 1971 on it.
okay, so maybe we'll say celebrations plural and
Yeah.
add
Yeah.
plus
Right.
1990.
Yeah.
On the next page, page 2, I'm confused after it makes reference to the Muscle Ridge Historical Society, that portion on the upper third of the page. And then it shows the vote passed 3-0. But the next line says the select board requests that more information be presented at the next meeting so they can move forward. And I'm not clear. It's unclear to me what we're talking about there.
I think that meant disposal of the building.
Yeah, I think we were
I
looking
think
to
probably-
get a value for it, perhaps.
I can just put it all together instead of having it
If it's
separate.
related, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, they are.
It appears to be a separate
Yep.
issue,
Yeah, I think we were gonna kind of look at some value,
yeah.
you know, ask someone about value, it's probably just what it's sitting on for land.
On the same page, in the section that refers to the shoreland zoning questions, in the second paragraph, delineating the airport based on a project they are working on for hangar development. Hangar needs to be spelled with an AR as opposed to an ER.
It's a common mistake.
And on page 3, number 3 at the very top, that any changes be fair. It says and reputable, that should say equitable. Fair and equitable. And on number 4, Dick Carver asks if he means all changes, please refer to he as specifically Shaw. It's not clear who that is intended to be. And then in the same paragraph, on the last line, it says what compact the committee has on the shoreline map. Does anybody remember what that was supposed to be?
I think it was,
What does that mean? Shaw thinks that the voters have the right to know what compact the committee has on the
well,
shoreline.
I think
Impact,
it was supposed to be the impact of the changes, not necessarily the committee, not the impact the committee has, but what impact the changes were gonna.
Okay, so the word should be impact as opposed
Yeah.
to, I didn't know what she was.
Right, and
I think it should say community instead of committee.
yeah,
Probably so.
and because I think he was looking to have things, the changes kind of outlined, so anybody could know this is what it was and this is what the change is gonna be, so it's not just, you know, so they can know what the changes are. I think that was what he was getting at.
Right.
And it says here, all changes should be known, so, I mean, that's sort of what he was shooting for. At least that's what I believe.
Those are all the changes I have to be done.
No, I just had a couple of them, but I knew you were scrutinizing it, so I didn't do it too deeply.
okay, any other discussion?
I'll make a
Well, we have a
motion to
motion.
approve the minutes as corrected from the meeting of the 3rd of May, 2021.
Second,
All right, any discussion? All those in favor? Passes 3-0, thank you. Next is old business, Historical Society. You present?
Mr. Weeks is here.
All right. So I guess the board here, we were thinking that you guys should be involved in the planning of the 100th anniversary. And from, I guess, emails and a phone call, it sounds like that maybe you're less than enthused about that. I don't know.
Less than enthused. We do have a lot of stuff on the table right now. We talked about it at our last meeting. I think that really to do it right, we just don't have the people and what we need to do it. We did talk about the commemorative coins, and that's where the discussion kind of revolved. You know, as far as whether we would buy them, mint them, or whatever we have to do that, or whether the town would do that. We could set up a link with our membership and database to sell those coins with a link to the town, perhaps, or something like that. But as far as, you know, taking it on and sharing the whole thing, you know, we don't have to. There's a lot going on, especially with the Grange and Homestead and the buildings opening up and, yeah, so we have to respectfully decline. I think that there is, if the town wants to form an ad hoc type committee, there are some members who would like to be on that. But as far as being in charge of it, we just can't.
yeah, but I think if someone can bring forth some ideas of what we should do, you know, do we have a parade, do we have a, you know, some sort of dedication. You know, that's kind of what we're looking for. I think once we got some ideas, then people would take them and run with them, you know, bring it together.
Would the selectmen want to establish a short-term ad hoc type committee that we can have some of our folks be on to do that?
Yeah, that sounds.
Yeah,
I'm fine if people want to step forward and put out the word.
didn't know if the conservation committee maybe should be involved as well. Or not.
I think there are a lot of people in town that might want to be involved.
Right.
But we just can't share it.
Right, right.
Take it on.
Well, we should put the word out.
Carolyn Philbrook was in today and made a suggestion, putting volunteers for it on the website. And also she has a spring letter that she's gonna be writing, and she would like to put it in that as well. She did mention something about a chicken type barbecue, maybe with a potluck or something like that. And she said, if you can get a committee started, she would volunteer.
I'm wondering if we do something like that, if we do it at the New Harbor Park as sort of an acknowledgement of that as well.
Well, we've got the space, so, you know, that might be a good idea.
Would it be away from this kitchen if the kitchen were needed, but
Well, perhaps could have a cookout type of thing, or something like that.
maybe a parade of the food from here to there.
Well,
No, barbecue.
Going to coordinate it, and all those people would probably.
Right,
Okay.
and there's people that would cater something like that too, you know, that's a possibility, seem, you know.
I realize you guys have a lot on your plate as the Historical Society, but I'm frankly disappointed that the Historical Society wouldn't step up and say, we have a chair. Whoever it is within your group that says they're willing to work and be on the committee. And then that individual through the organization would take the lead on
I
that.
think if you ask Carolyn Silver to organize something, she would want to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm not speaking for her.
Sure.
But I mean, the Historical Society has the history of the town, which is what it's all about.
I mean, if you guys don't get behind the project, then
Oh, we're behind it.
Yeah,
yeah. We can't just take it on as the lead, but I think that, you know, especially when it comes to like a lot of the costs that may be involved, you know, we're not the town. And I actually had a question on the coin issue too, as far as where they are at and who is printing it and who is paying for it. And we didn't know anything about the $4,000 that were left over. There are two celebrations. I think that Kay Dodge gave gave the town the itemization from the 71 and the accounting from the 71 celebration, but there was not $4,000 left over from that for sure.
Right.
The 96 celebration, from what we understood at our meeting, was not the Historical Society that did that, but it happened to be that three of the members that are on the Historical Society were selectmen who organized the 96 celebration. So that's kind of the history, I think, of what we understand. So.
And just for the vocal record, that's Dave Matthews who has been talking.
Oh, sorry.
As it relates to the coins, the coins have come up in other meetings.
Yep.
Related to the cost, the value, who's the sales and marketing team that's going to promote these things? You know, is there a business plan? And apparently there isn't one that's been developed by the Historical Society, but if we're going to make a purchase, we don't want to be left over a bunch of coins 3 or 4 years from now. And so I'm wondering, how do we manage that?
Well, again, I think that if somebody should contact Carolyn Brooks, who I think will spearhead pretty much what you want to have happen. And she has information on the coins as well. Again, you know, we don't feel like we're in a position where we can buy X number, 1,000 coins and be holding them 4 years from now. We just don't have the finances to do that in our operating budget. So, but she can put that information together and present it to the town.
So, Mr. Chair, can we make that request through Eleanor?
Sure, I was just gonna say in the coins, maybe we should approach it as a pre-sale.
Right, yeah, it should be on it.
Pre-order.
Right, because we don't wanna, like you say, have lots of them left over.
Yeah.
We can always
The
order
decision
more.
that I need sooner than later is whether or not to go ahead and change the die, which is gonna cost, what did I say, $352 or something like that.
I
So,
mean, we could order a bunch of them, we can always order more if people want them after they see them or something, we
No.
started out with 50, 100, whatever.
we could at least have a couple to hang on the wall or something, so the die is cast.
I think we should go ahead with, getting them so we can get them without a lot of delay.
And yeah, we'll certainly promote that on our website and on our merchandise section, where we sell other things as well. So I don't think you would have a problem selling 500 of them.
Probably not.
Well, I suppose it depends on how much they cost
Right,
on a per unit basis.
If they're in the same range as the last time, I don't know how many were sold last time, but I thought that it was fairly significant.
Well, there again, I think we need a plan,
Yeah.
whoever makes the plan.
right, yeah.
What's the metal in the coin? Is it
Solid gold.
Yeah,
That was all in an email as well. I think one is,
There were two different,
there was a, like a
Nickel-plated one.
nickel plated and there was a gold plated and a bronze.
I think the other ones, they were bronze in color, I'm not sure what the makeup on them was.
But they're different prices based on.
But they were less than what, $15 a piece
Yeah.
for any one of them. And I'm sorry, I didn't include you in any of those emails, I don't believe. I did you, but I don't believe I did.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Did you see him?
I've seen
Okay,
it.
thank you. Sorry, I apologize.
while we have, Dave here, do we want to bring up the drain towel briefly for any more information or?
Yeah, well, I'd like to, just because out of curiosity, we're taking possession of that. I think we need to get inside and see what we now own.
I'm ready to talk about that if you want. I believe the letter that we sent was dated the 20th of April, which under the 30 days would have been the 20th this month, a couple of days from now. We actually did go in there last week, probably 4 or 5 of us, just to see what was in there. The Historical Society has some stuff in there that we would like to take out before the 20th, or if we can't get it out by the 20th, give us a little grace period. But we'll move it to wherever we need to move it to. And then as far as what's in there, we wanted to kind of put forward that we would take over or coordinate some sort of a sale of stuff that's in there that people might want. There's not a lot of, I don't know that there's a lot of value in there. There's a lot of stuff in there. There's old chairs, there's folding wooden chairs, there's wooden stadium seats, kind of thing. A lot of those tables, chairs, card tables, a lot of china, and again, there are some things that we were going to take out just to keep for the society, and that we can put in there. But there's also like our old refrigerator, which was there, which kind of is part of the building, the stove, all that kind of stuff. Anybody who's interested in any of that, we would coordinate trying to clean it out, if you will, for the town. So.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything about it. When we closed the Grange, the state Grange came down. Some of the things belonged to them because they were part of the state Grange. And they,
Yeah, I don't think anybody has any claim on the.
no, not now, not now. 'Cause what needed to be removed was removed and some other things went here and there and whatever. So I don't think there's anything that has any significant, importance to it over there.
But we are gonna try to get some of the stuff out before the 20th, and hopefully you're okay if we go in on the 21st or 22nd or whatever. So I don't think
Problem
it's
with
coming
it.
down anytime soon, but, I do have also, just for your records, if you, I bring this up. This was the study from Resurgence on the,
Redoing the thing.
yeah, the cost for,
Yeah.
for restoring the building.
Yeah.
Again, just for the record,
Yeah.
$280,000
Yeah.
restoring. That's,
Yeah.
again, kind of the reason why we
Yeah.
feel the town needs to. We also want to, we established the 20th as the transfer date, the effective date. We will contact our insurance company and have it removed. You also probably should contact your insurance company and have it listed as one of your buildings.
That's already been done.
Yes. Okay. Do you know what effective date is?
That would be, yeah,
Okay, I'll find out.
it wasn't long after our last meeting.
Yeah, it's probably listed as, because we own it anyway, you know, you guys are just leasing it, so I'm sure it's in the listing of what the town owns for buildings anyway.
I believe that's
I
what
hope
Pam
not,
said.
because that it's on our list of the insurance.
No, but I mean, the town owns
Yeah,
it,
the town.
you know, 'cause they have to know who owns the building.
So
You guys
perhaps
didn't
if,
own it, we did.
if
town
the
did.
building were to burn down, it was our insurance, if someone gets hurt in it, it would be your
Yeah.
insurance.
We have liability and we have, the building itself.
Yeah.
Maybe it has double coverage.
Yeah, that would be great, wouldn't it?
Right. Yeah, where's that match?
So, any,
Can I get in touch with you this week, Dave? May I get in touch with you this week?
absolutely.
Take a few minutes.
Any other discussion on that? Yes, sir.
Just one other point that Dave failed to mention is, I believe we're the only entity that has keys to the building. And one of the things we have to do is coordinate the delivering of those keys to you. So either the three of you or a representative can come in and take a look for yourselves as to what items of property you think are worth keeping, and the town may still want. And this dovetails into Dave's idea that we would be willing to help him not only get the stuff out of the building, but maybe coordinate a sale. Because there will be some people who want some of these very long, old, very heavy display tables. And maybe we can make a little money that way too.
Okay, maybe Gordon, you might be interested.
I'll touch base with Dave and coordinate something.
Could I just ask a question, because I wasn't really sure who to contact to get the information from, as far as the Historical Society goes, who would I want to reach out to?
Marty Shaw is out.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, it looks like we're all set on that. Thank you, Dave. Next cemetery update with Michael Von Cannon and Bill.
Hi, I'm Michael Milliken. Bill Gates is not here, but Mr. Harbor is here. We got an email from Eleanor from Mr. Collins, who complained that the head of the bay was, as of Mother's Day, was overgrown, weedy, so on and so forth. He really didn't mean head of the bay, he meant McPhail's. Bill and I went down there separately to assess. It does look like it needs mowing. I don't know what Terry Moran's mowing rotation is, but definitely the grass was high and the dandelions were blooming. As far as the weeds go, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, we did restoration on McPhail's. That was pretty complete. We did a lot of landscaping. We did a lot of seeding, reseeding with seeds and loam and seed mats, the whole bit. Nature was not kind to us, and that seed did not take. And we have no source of water over there. I think if we ever want to do anything, it would probably have to be hiring a landscaper to redo certain sections as far as the weeds go, and then have water trucked in on a regular basis to water, make sure seed gets established, or we're back to where we were. And as far as the loam and the seed, quite a bit of that was paid for by the cemetery committee and donated, so, can't do anything about that, but if Terry can get at, mowing and string trimming, it would look a lot better. And I can email Mr. Collins that we took a look at it and it will be taken care of, except for the weeds.
I don't know, did Terry respond to anything?
Not yet.
Because he should do a spring cleanup on all the cemeteries. Because it seemed like there was other things beside, that's why he was talking about twigs and brush and all of that, so. I don't know if Terry has been there to take a look at that, so, but he should.
I don't know either, he did haul looked all right. And some of the other cemeteries look like they have been done, but
Yeah.
that one, for whatever reason, I don't think it was quite as bad as Mr. Collins implied, but, he was correct in that the grass was tall and the dandelions were happy. The next thing is the schedule for the Rose Hill restoration. That's now scheduled for September 6th through 9th. 6th is Labor Day. Hoping to be done sooner than the 9th, but I think we have enough money just barely in our account. If you remember, we had $1,800 taken out of that capital account because we had no budget money last year. So we're a little shy. We're going to be asking for more, because we want to do another restoration in the coming year. That'll be bigger. Just warning. The third thing we want to talk to you about is Cooper's Beach Cemetery. Thanks to the efforts of Dick and Lee Carver, the committee has been informed that the abutters neither abutters own that cemetery. We thought that the Shia and Ladd abutters owned the cemetery. They came when they bought the property, talked to us, mentioned how they wanted to take care of it, sort of adopt it. They still do sort of want to adopt it. And by that means keeping an eye out on it, helping with projects and things like that. And it does need to be restored. Every single headstone is down, and one is actually falling into a hole. Dick did some further research to find out when this cemetery was established, and it was established in 1865, which makes it an ancient burial ground. So neither of the abutters own it. Carolyn Philbrook, who used to own all that property, she does not own it. I think we're at the point now, even though the Shiats and Lads would like to adopt the cemetery, it's in the best interest of the cemetery that the town go through the abandoned cemetery process like we did with Rose Hill, just to keep it under the town umbrella, because landowners come and go. And I'm here to ask your permission to start that procedure with Paul Harrell, who released the last one. He's familiar with it. Dick has done some of the research, ownership research, which has to be validated, of course. And we know some of the qualifications, like there's been no recent burial in 40 years. That would allow us to proceed on the pathway to abandoned cemetery. So we're asking your permission to do that.
If it's not a town-owned cemetery, is it taxed?
No. No. It is on tax maps, it's definitely defined as a cemetery. So it's my understanding that cemeteries are not taxed.
Okay,
There's
that would be one way to find out who owned it, if someone were being billed taxes or.
Yeah.
no.
There's gonna be a deed somewhere that, outline the neighbor's property, which wouldn't include that property, so.
No, the deeds of both abutters clearly goes around the cemetery. And there doesn't seem to be any tracking, but that's also something that is part of what Paul Harrell will do.
Mhm.
Also, Lee has found out that some of the dimensions, not only of the cemetery, but of the easement to the cemetery are a little bit different than what we have in the tax maps. So altogether, there are some things that need to happen.
Somebody owned it at some point, probably was a family. The Coopers, yeah.
All right,
And there's none of them around.
if you need an okay, you've got the okay to go ahead.
Right, yeah, I think we need to move forward with it.
Okay. I'll keep you apprised of where we are. I don't think it'll be done in time for our town meeting. And also the cemetery committee, thanks to Walter's purchase of a tripod, which he purchased with South Thomaston, but obviously has visitation rights to it. We can do a restoration of that cemetery ourselves, the headstones and things like that. With his knowledge and our, well, we can do it. But I hesitate to, we were talking about doing it this summer, but I hesitate to do that because we're not totally sure who owns it. I mean, we think nobody owns it, but I would hate to start doing something until the town formally owns it.
Bring them out with the woodwork, perhaps.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Well, if you remember about 6 years ago, the cemetery committee tromped in there thinking it was owned by one of the abutters and hadn't been taken care of. And we did our own clearing and cleaning. And nobody came out of the woodwork then, and we published an article about it. So I'm sure we could sneak in and get it done without anybody saying anything.
Yeah,
I
sure.
would just feel
Why
more
would they
comfortable.
complain? You know, who would?
Yeah, I feel more comfortable with the town. We knew.
Right.
Anyway. So thank you for your approval.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? All right, review and choose sand and salt bids. Did we ever get an amount of what's left over?
You did not have to get back to me.
Well, I think maybe we can just, average whatever. We've been buying on the salt 500, 550, 550, 500. So I don't see a problem with, just taking an average of that. Seems to be consistent.
Does the road commissioner have an opinion? Bill?
On what,
Salt?
Salt and sand.
Salt and sand.
Bids.
I talked to Jake and he just said he was gonna go look in the building and see what there was left, but I never heard back from him. I just would report to you guys.
Yeah, we should have be helpful to have an idea. I mean, it doesn't go bad, so if we have
Right.
too much, it doesn't really matter. So if we kept it, the average of what we have been getting, I think that would be
When do they
sufficient.
need to know?
Is there a drop dead deadline for this? Doesn't say on the, almost it's down further. Yeah, and we replied to the vendor anyway,
Right.
not to the county, so.
But I thought in the past we went with the county.
Well, we did, they put this together, and this is the price they're offering, to the municipalities listed. For the most part, they are. Some of them, they don't want a service because they're out of there.
We just need to let them know how much we want.
Right, in which one, in which vendor we wanna use.
It just seems like it's a different process than the past.
No, I don't believe
It's the
so.
same.
No, it's the same. And the county goes out and asks all these questions, and it lists all the towns in the county, and they give us what they will do for particular towns.
All right, well, we usually go with the cheapest, so,
Well, New England Salt has been, I believe, the one we've gone with for the most part, but the question is, usually, I believe Jake went and picked it up. So there's two options there, whether it gets picked up or delivered. So that's the difference in some of these prices. So I think we need to have a conversation with Jacob about that. Usually he's gone and picked it up.
Right, because they pick it up out of Searsport, I think they bring it down and mix it as they need it, instead of having, 500 yards of salt dumped in the way. And trying to get sand in there. I think it's easier to bring down a load or two a day and then truck in the sand and mix it. I'm not sure who's delivering the sand this year. Heartland last year, wasn't it?
Let's see what we got here. Lucas didn't bid. We got DR Flag and George Hall.
Are the only ones that bid on it?
It was,
Yeah.
But last year, was it Heartland?
I
I think it was DR Flag.
All the
Oh, it
five?
was, yeah.
Bill, anecdotally, we've used less in this past winter than we did.
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah, Flag has been consistently see less than Judge Hall.
all right, well, I guess we need to contact Jake again and, ask him if he's picking up the salt or not, as in the past, and what his opinion is on the amounts we should order on both the sand and the salt.
Right, because there's only two options on the sand, price delivered or price picked up. So the contract is turned into the labor and equipment. I think that's what we've gone with. Jake's gone up.
Yep.
And picked it up. We should have a conversation with him and get an idea of what he thinks for the amount with it.
So I'll get these originals back. All right. Let's see if we can get that done by our next meeting. It's probably gonna be too late at that
Gonna
point.
ask
but-
when we have time.
Well, I think there's nothing in here.
I couldn't find it.
No, I think we just need to contact the vendor because that's who we contact.
Okay, so see if you can get back ASAP the information to us in case we need to have a quick meeting sometime. All right, next item, Road Commissioner Bill Ruppeman with catch basin proposal. Is that this?
You've got the letter from Garland, Dorsey there? On copy of it.
Probably.
I don't have it.
I don't know if you made up more than just that one that they sent. I never got some made up. Anyway, to engineer it, they want about between $5,000 and $6,000. And the only reason it really needs to be engineered, because I had it designed to come up and make a turn, but you'd have to get an easement off the post office. And Fred Newcomb wasn't thrilled about that. He thought that we should have an engineer's approval, not be on my shoulders or the town's shoulders if anything goes wrong. So $6,000, I don't know what can go wrong. It's pretty straightforward. Instead of putting it over the post office property now, I would stay out in the town road and add a drain manhole, which unfortunately would be right in a travel lane, but it's just a solid cover. And then you put a spur pipe over to where the catch basin goes. So that way we're always staying in the town right away. We're not on anybody's property. And we put the catch basin between the post office and the store. So we had a price last year from George Hall and Jake Barber both did it. And I'm sure that price has gone up some since, but it would just involve really adding one extra drain manhole, they call it. And so that would be a lot cheaper than the $6,000 just to engineer it. And then once you get it engineered, you've got to still do the project.
Right, is this gonna help that hole that's in front of the post office?
If we paved it all, I mean, that was the other problem we had was the store at the time wasn't open when we did all this originally.
Yeah.
And now she wants to pave the parking lot in front of the store.
Mhm.
And the post office said he would chip in as long as the store did. And Fred wasn't real thrilled about having, a private public, we want to call it partnership or something, because if they don't pay, what do you do? You know, they can say, I'll chip in, but if they don't give you the money, then what? So I think, you know, Fred wasn't thrilled with that either, so. And I can do it without anything on the post office, let them take care of themselves. You know, because if that post office ever goes away, they'll probably turn it into grass anyway. Right now, it's all pavement. And most of it's, you know, it's like half and half. I think the post office owns like probably 8 to 10 feet in front of the building, then it goes into the town right away, the rest of the way, but it's all paved. So it really should be all repaved
Mhm.
to pitch into this new basin that if we set it.
Yeah,
So-
that is a problem, it's it's his, well, we don't know whose problem it is, where the
Right,
hole is, if
that's
it's
right.
on post office land or whether it's in the right of way.
But I mean, you know, it's sort of an accident waiting to happen because it's just so flat, you can't drain the water across it. And so no matter what you pave, you're gonna end up with a puddle somewhere. And, you know, most of the puddles are only half-inch deep, but they're maybe 10 feet long. You know, somebody's got snow on it, slips in the wintertime,
Yeah, it's a mess.
you got a mess.
Yep.
So, you know, whether you wanna, we can have Gartner-Dorsey design it and then put it to bid again, or we can do my theory.
What's your theory gonna cost?
Well, I'd get a reprice from Halls, they were considerably low bidder.
Do you remember what the number was originally?
It was 11,000 originally. And so I'm guessing, you know, probably up 20%. That was almost 2 years ago. Not counting the extra basin, which that other basin probably would be like $1,000.
Well, maybe we should get updated prices then. Think we finagle the money somewhere.
I mean, I can take it out of the road budget. I mean,
Yeah.
how we can put it in the next couple of years. I mean, I know she'd probably like to get it paid this year, but there's also she's dealing with the state on another catch basin that's on the other side of the property that's falling apart. The state claims they will take care of the basin, but they won't take care of the pipe that goes down through private property. Because nobody knows who installed it. Most likely the homeowners did.
So has she expressed interest in pitching in on this herself?
I haven't talked to her on that at all. I mean, she just got a hold of me about the catch basins. So I met with her and you know, told her what my plan was for someday. We're kind of going on now about 3 years, so. But it's just a case of, you know, I mean, with going across the post office property, we would need an easement, which I didn't think was that big a deal to get. I mean, it's all parking lot, pavement, it's not like you're ripping up the lawn or going through the side of the house or something.
Right.
Well, I can understand Fred's concern about the public-private side of it, but if in fact she is willing, I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to get her to put that money up in advance and put it in escrow so that we're guaranteed the money if in fact we move forward with the project, otherwise she can have money.
Yeah, both of them, if he,
Yes,
if he's saying, well, he'll throw in, if the store throws in,
yeah,
put it up front, you know, and it's sitting there, if we don't use it, you guys get it back, or portion of it, or whatever.
yeah. I mean, you know, you'd have to, well, I mean, it should be a part of the whole project. Originally, I was thinking, you know, a third and a third and a third.
Mhm.
But whether they'd go that high or not, I mean, that would probably be 5,000 apiece.
Well, get some numbers, then, you know, maybe they would.
I think the whole thing started originally because she wanted to get it paved on her own.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
don't
we've been
think-
dealing with this issue for
Yeah.
4 or 5
And the
years.
state hasn't
Long
made any
before she
movement on their catch basin at all.
Yeah,
So I'm all for saving $6,000 and taking whatever contributions they might want to give us.
yeah, I don't know if we need to go this elaborate route.
Any thoughts, Gordon, or?
No, I think somehow we have to communicate with Maya and ask her what her level of commitment is. Just a matter of who's gonna have that conversation.
Well, I think we need some numbers perhaps first, or at least their estimate of, you know, the 2 options, you know, doing the basin
I
and
mean,
then doing
I
everything.
can get Halls to give me a new price on the total project.
Yeah.
And then see what commitment we can get out of the post office and the store.
Okay.
We will have some solid numbers.
Could I ask you a question?
Sure.
During the winter, in front of the post office, more the post office than the outside of the store, there's this enormous accumulation of ice.
Yes,
Will this correct this?
yes.
Great.
In other words, what I was gonna do was put say like, I don't know, whatever the width of the steps are in the post office, put a sort of a straight grade
Okay.
over to the town road and then crown it so that the water to the east would flow down the hill
Okay.
and the water to the west would flow into the catch basin.
Great.
And that would, because right now you're trying to drain all that water from the store and everything across the front of the post office.
Okay.
You know, and it's so flat in there that there's no way to make a pitch, and it's not a good idea to run it above ground anyway, because at some point, frosty eve or whatever, you can, like out here, we regraded all this, and you look out there now and it's all up and down because of the frost jacks pipes and, you know.
Thank you.
Just quickly, while you're here, did Frank Ross communicate with you at all about the towing of the cars at the
What?
park? Towing of the cars illegally?
Yeah, I mean,
parked?
no, we haven't talked about it. I mean, I don't know, I guess, you guys to establish who's gonna do the towing. In other words, you know, you're gonna have 2 or 3 different contractors, or you're gonna just make a deal with, you know, one company to do towing if Frank calls or somebody calls, I guess.
He called me and said there were, I think, 6 cars, and I said, well, if we don't enforce it, they're not gonna believe that we will, so I told them to go ahead and have them towed, so I don't know what happened after that.
Yeah, I don't know either. They were told
Somebody's been towed already down there?
on Frank.
Like 2 weeks ago, Sunday or something like
Okay.
that.
Haven't heard any repercussions from it, but. Birch Point, side of the road, because people were parking there during all this, because the gate's closed and walking. Well, it's, you know, the road now is about this wide, because they're parking everywhere.
The gate's only open Memorial Day to Labor Day,
Right.
and, you know, you got good spring weather, and you got good fall weather, so you got about 4 months of people wanting to go to the park, that all park out on the road, and according to one of the homeowners down there, you know, she said she's got pictures of 60 or so cars parked along there,
Wow.
and I don't go down there on a Sunday, so I don't know what you go to, but I mean, I've gone down through in the week when we were working on that project down there, that, there was nothing to have 8 or 10 cars parked out there. Most of the time, they can kind of squeeze up into the entrance to the park, but when they park on both sides of the road, that was what was happening. They were crowding the road so that you couldn't get a trap trailer down through there. There's 2 fishermen down there now. Plus, you know, the people that do lawn work have those big trailers with their lawnmowers on them.
Right.
What about, emergency vehicles?
Well, same thing.
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
was-
they'd
that
be
was
even
the
worse.
Worry, you know, getting fire trucks or whatever down through there.
Plus, I didn't realize that the Parks Department told me that, there's a lot of bus trips down there.
Yeah.
In other
Yeah,
words,
in
they
the
use
spring,
that
the
for
kids' schools, you know,
spring
they
field
go.
trips.
Have the signs been installed and built?
Yes, yeah, Frank's got all the, no parking signs up there. That was my next thing was, I met with the park and they own about 100 feet north of the park entrance. And so what we proposed was to widen out the shoulder 10 feet and make parking spaces all along the front of the park entrance. And, so I got a price from Jimmy Keller, he's working on it, to basically box it out 12 feet, 10 feet wide, put some fabric down, gravel it, and then, they can park there, that'll get them off the pavement.
Right.
And that'll give like another 6 to 8, 10 parking spaces. And, so I told the park, I thought it'd be fair if they split it with us. And I didn't hear a no.
Yeah.
I didn't get a yes either.
Well, they get all kinds of money coming from
Well,
Washington, so it's, you know, might as well spend it.
So, I'm waiting for Jimmy's price and I'll get a hold of the pack again.
Yeah.
And, get back to you guys on that.
Okay. And it's,
Bill, on the catch basin project, if you've got enough money still in the budget from this year, is it possible to stick that across an escrow so we don't have to.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be just taken out of my ditching or paving project, you know, what I mean, in other words, I haven't got a price on paving for this year yet.
Yeah.
You know, depending on how much pavement's gone up, and, I mean, actually, I'm looking at my roads and, you know, they're pretty good shape. You know, I was gonna pave Valley Hat, possibly Crescent Beach Road this year, you know, depending on the price.
But I mean, if there's enough cash still in the account this year, it'd be great to be able to use it for the project. even if it
Right,
doesn't
we
get
have
done
to,
next year.
we have to get them by the first of June, or first, end of June,
Yeah, or
or run up, carry.
Yeah, we can do a carryover.
I thought you didn't like carryovers.
I don't like carriers.
Well, if it's earmarked for that, we can do the carryover.
Yeah, you commit it,
Yeah,
and you
right,
know it's coming.
right.
It's a different issue.
Okay, thank you.
So that's pretty much all I got.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Conservation Committee update.
Just with regard to the LCAT Sea Level Rise Community Informational Meeting, we checked with the town, we checked with Jeremy at the airport, and it looks like we have, we'd like to have the meeting in July, on the 21st or the 22nd, which is a Wednesday or a Thursday. And I think I checked with Eleanor too, it didn't seem like there was anything planned for those dates. So I would lean towards preferably the 21st. The event will be open to the public. We're looking at a target size of about 100 people. And Eleanor gave us a template of the current town meeting that's happening, so we know what's required with regard to setting up and breaking down, and the things that we may need for it. So I guess I just wanted to make sure that we had your okay to go forward with that process of setting it up.
Well, we can have the meetings here now, after next week.
Yeah, I think it's gonna probably be we're hoping for a really good sized meeting, because we have, Pete Slavinsky coming from Geology Survey, Island Institute, Ken Joe, Grindle, Letitia Van Buren from the GIS Maps from the Emergency Management Association. So we'll advertise a lot for this event.
Catherine, how many people would you like to have attend that meeting? What's your anticipation?
I would like as many people as possible.
Of course, but you have
But I think what we're doing is just looking towards 100, because we know that how many you can have over there at this point, maybe some people outside. We will have to have a lot of maps laid out. The maps are pretty large, so that people can look at the maps first. And we have to, the reason that we wanted it in the summer is that we'll have a summer population as well. Many of them who are living, coastline properties. So I think that the interest will be great. And we'd like to get as many people here as possible.
Have you approached the Transportation Museum? We used to have meetings over there when some of the airport stuff was going on 20 years ago. They had meetings in the library, I believe, and there was, that way you don't have to sit down, you don't have to take chairs and all that stuff. Go to the
We
airport.
thought about that, figured that we would just follow suit as a town organization, follow suit to what we did. But, if that's something that you recommend, we could look into it.
If you have it over there, you gotta take chairs over, you gotta do all this other, well, by then, hopefully, we won't have to do all the sanitization, but you'll have to, someone has to set it up, take the chair, whereas with the museum, if they have it in the library, I don't know how many it holds, or even one of the hangars, I would ask them about it.
So is that the consensus, then we should just check with them first, and then we'll get back to you.
I think so, but
Yeah,
this room itself holds at least 9 for town meetings, so.
And there's right on the side of the wall behind Dick is the capacity
what does it say?
Okay.
on the way to the bathroom.
150.
150, well, there.
And that's the, we do want to put out a lot of tables,
174.
a lot of table space for the maps are pretty large.
Seated. Oh, we have table, all right.
Okay,
Well, it would work here then.
so yes, I would check with the museum first.
Okay.
I've been to many, events over at the museum, big auditorium.
Well, we run them there.
Yeah, it's really a good place to have.
It is.
I agree with you, would be way better off there.
Check it out. Okay.
A lot of parking, if you're gonna have a
Yeah, and
hundred and some
I
people
believe
here.
that
and-
that they offer that to us.
Yeah, that's, well, they should.
Okay. All right, we'll check into it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other old business? Not sure what this is. Community Television Association of Maine, is that something for that,
Oh, that's
your group?
what?
The
Broadband? Oh, think so.
I don't know. It's not my group, by the way. I'm not on the committee.
You're our liaison.
Okay.
All right, new business.
Before you do that, excuse me,
Yes.
you asked about old business. and,
Yep.
Old business would be the upcoming special town meeting. And there was some loose discussion earlier about whether or not we should relocate again from
Here.
the snow removal building to the town office.
Okay, well, that's actually listed under new business.
Sign the warrant.
Sign the warrant.
Okay?
So we can discuss it either way. I almost think keeping it at the airport might be better just due to the nature of what the discussion might be and remembering what it was like the last time here.
I'm just bringing it up because if we're going to change, we need to
Right, has to be on the
let
warrant.
Susan know real quick.
Right. But I think the advertisement's already gone to the newspaper,
It
hasn't
doesn't
it?
have to be advertised in the paper.
Okay.
No, we just post
but-
the warrant.
Susan's on vacation this week, but we do need to post the warrant. And she would have to change the warrant if we moved it.
Right, well, there's still time, you got, what, 10 days?
Did you say the special town meeting does not have to be advertised in newspaper?
Right.
It does not.
It does not, Susan said it did not.
No, you just post a warrant. I mean, I'm sure Steve Betts will pick up on it somewhere along the line, write an article, but
It's on.
Well, yeah, the warrant has to be posted.
the warrant has to
Yeah,
be
but
posted, but you don't
not
have
an
to, you don't
ad.
have to put a notice in like a public hearing or whatever. But thing with doing it over there is, we got, there's cost to it, plus we got all the setup. But
It's up to you guys.
I just think it's easier to have it here, but,
I think it is too. If all the restrictions are lifted, with the possible exception of wearing masks,
yeah, I'm unvaccinated people.
Well, according to the feds, we can do it no problem. So it's whether the state has restrictions more restrictive than the federal one.
Well, the latest thing was next Monday that's it. It's gonna adhere, other than schools, adhere to what the federal CDC has put out.
Which is,
Which-
if you're vaccinated, you don't need a mask, you don't
Right.
need social distancing,
Right,
and the capacity is 100%.
exactly. Which is what the CDC is, so, I mean, if people are uncomfortable, they can wear a mask. But it's, it's just easier here. Someone has to set all that up, and we gotta get a porta potty.
Which at some point adjacent to this, we have to decide if we're going to change the rules for this building.
I have that under adjustments.
Okay.
So, let's make the decision then.
I would certainly support putting the meeting back into this location under all the circumstances.
I would too. It's just easier. You don't have to deal with it. So I'll make a motion.
So do we, then this needs to be,
Susan will need to retype it.
Well,
You
it's
have
probably
access-
on, it must be on her computer.
You don't have access to that file?
Well, we don't have a typewriter. She typed it.
She must have done it on the computer.
Right,
I can look,
right,
I
yeah.
can look. I don't know
Right,
if she
right,
did
right.
that.
Well, I think, say 17, well, that'd be 24, yeah, it probably has to be done before
By
next.
Friday or something?
Yeah.
She's
probably has to
coming
be-
in Friday anyways to close out some reports.
Yeah, I mean, it's no big deal, I don't think, to do that. Just change it, the location, if it's in a Word document, you just change it.
Right, and
But
just,
if she doesn't have the Word document, the whole thing has to be recreated, which,
No, it's gotta be, so, because she's recreated it a couple of times with the changes.
yeah, but what I'm saying is if Susan has it in her system
Right.
and the deputy
Oh, yeah, right,
town clerk doesn't have access to it, that's a problem,
well, maybe,
whether it's this issue or another issue.
right,
when you
maybe
print it out,
you could
does the printer keep track of the original?
Susan printed them all out. I can go in tomorrow and do some research into
just
her
ask
computer.
her, I'm sure that, it's not a secret file, it's
No,
protected by, whatever. It should
But
be
really,
an
the
easy
only
thing,
change would need to be in that first paragraph.
right?
And the last, as it relates to the location.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so make your motion, I guess.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we hold a special town meeting here at the community building.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? 3-0 passes. I have it in the pile here, a credit card use policy, which would come under old business if in fact we're supposed to be taking it on tonight. Are we?
that is, it's all
We signed
finalized
it.
through the bank and everything. That's.
Yeah.
So we just need signatures? Is that
Correct.
all you're saying?
Did we go with one card or individual cards? What's the final?
Pam has a credit card in her name. She had to have credit run, she had to give her social security number, and she's now getting mail at home. So she's not really too happy.
I don't know why it has to be her, her number, because the question was asked about the town's ID number, to use that, so we don't get charged sales tax, so I don't know why
She
they're
said they
using.
ran her credit.
Well, they probably would run the credit, but still, it's.
So is there
Oh,
just,
guess what, you're garden post tonight, did we care? Take my name?
I'm flattered.
You should be.
It happens quite frequently.
Where's Steve Betts when we need him?
He's on the other end of that too.
Yeah, he's probably there somewhere.
So does this policy require the signatures of staff as well as the select board? That they will in fact adhere to any policy that's been developed?
Well, this is just a policy, this is
Says policy in the front.
I know, this is our policy, this is,
Probably what will go in the book.
right, but this isn't signing up with the bank. That's already happened. This is our policy.
Right. What I'm getting at
Right.
is if the town has a policy approved by the select board, should not the employees responsible for holding credit cards have a clear understanding of what is expected and they would agree to with a signature? So is that, no, that's not what that is.
No, this is our policy.
Just give
In
it
other
to
words,
us.
saying, you can't use it for personal stuff and there's no cash advance and things like that. It's our policy.
At this point right now, Pam is the only one that has access to that credit card.
Right. I mean, if you're ordering something online, all you need is the numbers anyway, in the date, expiration date and the 3-digit number on the back or wherever.
Well, there again, one of the primary reasons for this policy was to prevent any employee, whether it's the fire chief or the town clerk, from spending money out of pocket for the purpose of being reimbursed later on.
Right.
So Pam having the credit card is a good first step, but how or have we communicated to department heads that any purchase that they have to make should not be made with their personal credit card.
Right, yeah, I think we need to make that clear to all the department heads.
Probably by
In a memo
email,
of some
send a memo by email. I think Frank Ross probably knows because he was here when we were discussing that.
Well,
Right.
I think it's worth reminding.
Frank, and I think Frank's really the only one.
Right, yeah, because he orders things from the fire department and he does it online. I think
But
he's mostly,
it needs to be communicated that he won't be reimbursed if in fact he makes that type of a purchase without the town credit card.
Okay. And we have a letter from Mr. Bickford, code enforcement officer, regarding a sewer system camera.
I had some questions about this and I'm wondering if Scott is still available.
Probably not.
no,
Would you
Thank you.
please, Dick? Thank you.
and speaking of Scott, has he agreed to be here for the town meeting?
Yes,
Oh, good, because I'm sure, I mean, he's the one that's proposing this.
Just make sure he knows where it's gonna be.
Right, and any questions, would be addressed to him.
There's a signboard upstairs. What does it say?
I have to change
Airport.
that.
What does it say airport?
Has to be changed. It's just,
Well, even you can fix that.
right, yeah, it's just putting letters in, once you can spell.
Well, I guess you have to have the right letters.
Right.
I'll change it back. Because we'll put those out tomorrow, hopefully.
All right, so anyway, he's looking for $800 plus a
Or-
couple hundred over.
I like the way you worded it. Maybe somebody can answer it if he's not here, but when he makes reference to, he wants to camera our sewer system piping, where exactly will that work take place? Where, what sewer system, and what location?
Ingram's Hill, whatever they're calling it.
Okay.
Either
There it is.
It's got taken 5 hours, so it can't be too much.
Question that I had, Scott, was the specific location where the camera work will be done.
Ingram's Hill,
Okay, and that's the,
from the uppermost part of the sewer system on the top of Ingram's Hill, on the Rockland side.
Yeah.
All the way down to Cottage to the pump station. And then again, all the way to Haverside, the pump station. And it's a maintenance situation, checking the piping to make sure it's all looks good.
SOP, just.
Part of our insurance requirement too, it's all due.
How often is it supposed to be done?
It's supposed to be done, yes.
No, how often?
Oh, well, once every 3 years.
So how much do you want? Do you want $800 or do you want 11?
Well, $1,100, we just get a better record. It's on a disc and it's cleaner and so forth. We did a report for the 800, and that probably will suffice. It tells us if the sewer is looking good, or it tells us if there's any problems, where they are. And that's really, I think, all we need at this time.
The 800.
Well, he's looking at a little bit more because it's more than 5 hours, is that what I'm?
Yeah, but if it goes more than 5 hours, we'd have to pay the difference.
So if the funds are available, according to Pam, do we actually need to take action?
Why isn't this coming out of the sewer account anyway? Why is the whole town paying for this colonoscopy?
Nice.
Well, it is, what would you call it? It's the same idea,
I
on
don't
a
know.
grander scale.
I don't know.
I want a divorce.
Fine.
Probably because the
She
sewer
told me-
system already doesn't pay for itself.
Well, it's supposed, it never will, but,
Well, I thought that was coming out of the sewer account. So
well, if she said there's money in there, they
She
never,
said- She said there is, which is gonna lead me right to the next thing.
well, it's probably money that we put in there
Well, that was nice
to
of
fund
you.
it. Each year, we have to fund it because it doesn't take in enough revenue to pay for itself.
I can just see the headlines, town okays money for dirty pictures.
Yeah. Yeah.
That sounds better than colonoscopy.
Well, to be on the safe side, I'll move that we authorize an expense of up to $1,100 for the purpose of inspecting the sewer system piping electronically.
I'll second that.
Do we need to include in that it's coming from the sewer account?
No,
I would leave that up to the treasurer.
Okay,
right. And that's
Any-
money we put in there anyway. It never pays for it. It's never paid for itself.
any discussion? All those in favor? 3-0 passes.
While the code enforcement officer is here, I have a question.
Yes,
You and I have been recipients of a communication thread regarding property on Beach Street,
We have,
Bob Pratt's situation with the neighbor flooding in. There's a meeting scheduled on the 20th of May
there is.
with a gentleman coming in from the state and representatives for the abutter. Correct?
I can't answer for the abutters. I do know they have an attorney,
And Bob, of course, would be there.
and I would assume that the installer will be there, but I don't know that. Now, I won't be there because I'm already committed at Rockport.
Right. And that's what I want to ask you about. Is there any way, considering the fact that Mr. Pratt's complaint has
If we move
been,
it to Wednesday or Friday, I could shift.
well, that would be up to you
Yeah,
guys to figure that out.
right.
But
But I had already, before this even started, I made it very clear that Tuesdays and Thursdays, Rockport only, till 6:30.
is there any way that you could flip your schedule, considering everybody else is already planning to be there for that day?
They were aware of it when this first started, so no, I have no intention of changing my schedule to Rockport.
All right. The reason I'm asking about it, Scott, is because Captain Pratt's complaint stems from his opinion that your results of your inspection were in conflict with what he believes to be so.
Mhm.
And I don't know what, if you're not there, how would you be able to
The
respond?
date was thrown out there without any consideration of anybody. I mean, so I don't know that the others can all make it or not. I have no idea. I hope they do, or I hope they move the date.
All right. Would you throw an email back to them and ask them if they would adjust it so that you can be present? I think it would be important if you were there.
I can do that.
And if they can't adjust the dates, then I guess they'll move forward with it.
But as far as I'm concerned, I mean, it's not an issue, and I don't think the state's gonna find it to be an issue either, but that's fine.
All right. Thanks.
all right, thank you. Enjoy your evening. Next, review and sign the RSU 13 warrant, which is here. There's 4 different colors. I assume that,
You have to sign each.
yeah,
Did I read that correctly, that our share of the school budget's going up over $200,000?
it's going up. I don't remember the exact amount, but
I think it
Powell said
was.
it's going up the most.
No, Rockland's going up the most, but I thought, not that it makes any difference because it won't do any good. Can't change anything there.
well, hopefully they're getting more money from the state, according to the governor. So maybe that will be reflected in,
Well, the superintendent wants to take that money and put up modular buildings. Seems a little overkill considering the population of the school system.
Excuse me, I have a question.
go ahead.
With regards to these warrants, are these for the future budget? The 2021?
This is for the vote that's coming up in June on the school
For the
budget.
school budget?
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, we just have to sign this.
Public hearing on the school budget set for May 20th. Let's see.
Yeah, but this one's June 8th or 6th, I can't remember, whatever the Tuesday probably is in there. Let's see, June 1st is a Tuesday, so it must be the 8th.
Yeah, $243,000 addition to Owl's Head.
Apparently we got a couple extra students or something.
And most of it is salaries.
Where is the budget?
Where is it?
Yeah,
What do you mean, where is it?
you know what our portion of it is.
Oh,
Have they published a budget yet?
I believe so.
It's probably on their website.
I've been on their website extensively.
The total budget is 26.9 million, it's an increase of 845,000.
They are having a meeting on the 20th if you want to attend and,
Their meetings are not locked, they're not by Zoom, they're by a video. And the only thing that you have, that's why I'm here,
Yeah.
basically, to find about this. The only ability that you have is to listen to them talk. Comments are via email, which if you're lucky, they'll respond in a day. So it's very, I'm gonna call it deficient and unsatisfactory. Participation by, the taxpayers really is not encouraged. And I did communicate with the chair of the board as well as another member, and they have no intention of taking these meetings live this school year. I have those emails if you guys want to see them.
And I just I find it funny because the school principal of Ash Point called last week because the numbers for Owl's Head were down. And they were checking to check births to find out why the numbers were down.
I can tell you a little bit about that. My neighbor is sending all of her children to the Christian school in Rockland because of critical race theory being taught and masks being required. 6-year-old kindergartners wearing masks for 7 hours a day. It's very unsatisfactory, but even more so, she's pulling her 6th grader out because of critical race theory, which we all know what that is.
well, I think we're getting off. There's really nothing we can do about it. You've got to talk to the superintendent and the board members.
Beat your head
where you-
against the wall. I asked, I said something to our school board member about the big raise last year. She said, well, it's because it's union, and that was the end of it. In other words, we don't want to negotiate. Here we are in this town. Our people work for almost poverty wages in this town, but yet, up there, it's just an increase of $1 million, wages and benefits. It's frustrating,
And when
beat
they
your head
had,
against the wall if you try to do anything, because
so when the meetings were over at the high school and you went to the meetings and you tried to make them change or anything, just the block of teachers all vote you down, and so.
well, that's our own fault, not enough people go, but it's frustrating, really, that.
I noticed last year, a lot of people complained about their taxes, and I asked them, did you vote for the school budget? No, we didn't know about it, or, I said, well, that's why your taxes went up.
I don't think we're in a position where we want to secede like St. George did.
Too late now, we tried that 20 years ago.
So next item, ordinance,
Mr. Chair,
yes,
under new business, did we in fact sign the warrant for the special town meeting?
no, we didn't
We
because
gotta
it's
change that.
incorrect location.
We're gonna change the location.
We're gonna have time to do that.
We'll
I know
have
we
to
just
come-
talked about it, but
We'll probably have to come in Friday and sign them.
Yeah, we've already voted when and where, so I don't
yeah,
think.
we just want to make sure that.
Yeah.
we don't remove friction.
Right.
So just tell us as soon as we can come in and sign them. All right, Ken Wexler, Ordinance Committee. Looking for a secretary who's not a toy on board.
Yes, looking for somebody, secretary, but I'd just like to clear up, and I just heard it in your meeting notes because I wasn't here 2 weeks ago, some apparent misunderstandings about the ordinance committee. So a little history, if I might. Scott came to a few of us who had been on the original ordinance committee that finished this work up a few years ago and told us that the town had to update the shoreline zoning ordinances. And It had to be done. So needless to say, people weren't exactly lined up at the door to have this job, not one of the, again, not a high-paying job. So far from being any conflicts of interest, after a lot of discussions, Scott came up with the following current members. Myself, from the planning board, Lynn Chaplin, because she was on the ZBA, Dick, because he was on the previous ordinance committee, Dick Carver, Bill Gay was on the previous ordinance committee, and then Dick was able to get Lock and Post to get on the committee, which has been terrific because he's been the mainstay of the committee with Gottlieb and Dorsey's support, working through all of the issues. And Scott was on the committee, as was Linda. No conflicts of interest, just people trying to do the best they could for the town. The committee has had differences of opinion, but we work through them all, which is what committees are supposed to do. And we worked through them just as worked our way through the ordinances. For a year and a half, we went through this book, item by item by item by item, and we got them changed. We didn't get them changed. We agreed on what was going to be changed. Again, all this, as you know, has to go to a public hearing, and then it goes to the town. We didn't keep meeting notes because we felt that the work product was the meeting notes. You could clearly go to see what changes were made and were not. It was talked about, I mean, that was the work product. It was finished. Now we come along to the shoreline zoning map. And now we're coming into the controversy because the airport, frankly, wants to make changes to the zoning ordinances. They say it in writing, that their current plan up there is changed, to make a change their ordinance. They showed up at 2 or 3 meetings with their attorney, which I told you about last time, with their engineer, with Jeremy, and I don't know if maybe Andrew Hart wasn't there. At any rate, public meeting, they're welcome to come, and they're welcome to come and argue the position. So the last meeting went on for over 2 hours. We fortunately recorded it. And I think it's important that we get this transcribed, much like the town does for the planning board, because there's a lot of nuances. This thing is going to go to a public hearing. This thing is going to go to the town meeting, this issue, and we need to get it right. So what the ordinance committee is a bunch of people trying to do a good job for the town. And I think that I wish you would all rethink that there was anybody there with their own agenda and I personally think it's out of order for the airport to come complaining in here. The airport is being totally treated fairly. There's public meetings, there's public hearings. They've argued their points, and there hasn't been a decision made. But you know, it's going to be decided by the town anyway. That's the most interesting thing, as it should be. Okay, as it should be. And we're going to have a public hearing, and we're determined to do it right. At any rate, not to make a speech, can't help myself. I think it would be good if we had these meetings transcribed. So I went frankly to Eleanor, says she's too busy to do it now. I respect that. So perhaps we can find somebody else who could listen in, put the earphones in, and type them up so we can have meeting notes. Thank you.
Question? Thanks, Ken, for the report. The public meetings that you refer to, how are they publicized? How would the general public know that these meetings are being held? Okay. Are they on a calendar somewhere? Are they?
They've been the same Monday for a year and a half. Eleanor posted notice here. Zoom notices went out. They were added to the broader Zoom list.
They're in the book.
They're in the book. Okay, the annual report. Okay.
Yeah. So really, all done publicly and above board.
Okay.
Seriously.
Thank you.
So I don't know what it would cost. I mean, is it a couple hours work for somebody to transcribe it? I think it would be well worth it. That's just
So what are you looking at? So if you recorded it all, right? If you recorded it all like we're doing here,
yeah,
someone wouldn't have to be at the meeting then, right? I mean,
no. I mean, no, we don't need to have somebody come to the meeting.
Yeah, I mean, they could listen to it and summarize it, which is probably
That's
what
what,
would be best.
what I'd like to see done is exactly what's done for the planning board. We talk, we record it.
Yeah.
Ellen types it up, we approve it as regular meeting notes and at the meeting.
Are you typing verbatim what's been spoken, or are you interpreting what's being said and kind of?
I, word for word. Word for word.
I think a summary probably is.
I have to cut
Because
back.
there's a lot of words that go on all the meetings, so, yeah.
I
So
have to
it's-
cut back a lot to
Yeah.
spare minimum.
And if anybody's interested, they can go listen to the whole transcript.
That's fine with me, okay? I'm mainly reacting to previous criticism, and rightly so, that things I've been involved with haven't had the best of meeting notes, okay? I recognize that. So I don't wanna make the same mistake twice. If the selectmen are happy with saying, okay, it's recorded, come listen to it, that's okay with me speaking to the committee. I
Is
just,
there a way to get these recordings accessible through our website? In other words, to have the files,
I know that we can move them onto a thumb drive. I guess we would have to talk to Ben Bruno to find out how to get them onto the website.
because I think that would be ideal if we could do that.
or better, or give somebody the thumb drive, here's your own.
Yeah, but
I
this
mean,
way you
anybody
can
who's
do it at
interested,
home.
it's an easy
They
way to do
supply
it.
their own thumb drive. I mean, I've already given the last meeting out via thumb drive.
Oh, yeah.
But there probably should be some hard copy for future, whatever, even if it's just a summary, okay, tonight, this is what we went over, and this is what we suggested for changes, just sort of a summary of it.
Eleanor sent out just the other day, the meeting for the last planning board meeting, which was a long meeting, which had a lot of things, and the planning board hasn't voted on it yet, but from my point of view, Eleanor did a fine job in highlighting what was discussed. And
I would think we'd have no problem, but I guess you need to find someone first.
Right, yeah, that's the thing.
So in the meantime, we'll just keep recording them. We're hoping to be done soon. I mean, we're praying to be done soon.
Yeah.
So, maybe there's 1 or 2 meetings left, because our goal is we gotta get the public hearing scheduled. And then we gotta get to the town meeting on August, early August.
Now,
So-
I'm sorry.
Excuse me, Ken, have all of the meetings been recorded, or have you just begun to record the last couple?
We started to recording when we got off of making changes to the book. So in other words, if somebody said, what did you do to Article 23? Well, here's the old Article 23 and here's the new Article 23. And that's what we did. But now we're recording, yes. Now that we're into this, and it's not just the zoning up at the airport, there's also a very heated, interesting debate of what makes up bluffs, and and that have big effects on homeowners of how their land is designated. It's important stuff. We want to get it right.
Can I just point out that we have a subscribed YouTube page now? That, like, right now, it's all live on YouTube. This whole meeting. Is that something that you all might be interested in? Also,
You could upload the audio file to YouTube, just throw up the Owl's Head town logo up there, and just let that thing play. You know what I'm saying?
no.
Can you have an
Audio file, you're
answer?
recording this. You can upload that audio file to YouTube. You don't have to have people talking. You can just put up, say, the banner that you use for the website.
What I do is I specify which meeting it
And
is.
then just give it a title, selectmen, ordinance meeting of whatever, May 1st, 2021.
So Ken, would you like your meetings broadcast on?
Is anybody gonna watch them?
No,
It's like watching paint dry, I mean, but it would be good to have a summary of exactly, what this meeting.
So perhaps this is
What you
going to
accomplished,
work. We're going to have our next meeting next Monday. The notice will run out. We'll record it. and maybe one after that, and then they'll be there, and then maybe somebody's time will free up, we can hire somebody for 4 or 5 hours to get it typed up. I agree, a written summary would be really nice to have.
At some point in time, doesn't have to be done the next day after a meeting, but at some point, so we have it archived forever, because who knows what's gonna happen to some of the other stuff.
So is there a budget for this?
I was gonna send him out a request letter for the budget today, but I wanted to wait until this discussion before I sent him out the request.
I can make a, not me, we'll bring it up at the meeting Monday and see what's in it. Let me get everybody else's opinion.
Yeah, I mean, what would it be, 2 hours?
That's what I think, 2 hours,
To
a total of
listen
6
to it and
hours.
summarize it.
Yeah. But we'll make a request, formal request, I think that's what I think.
So follow-up question to that is, you were doing the planning board. Are you still doing planning board meetings?
Now, yeah,
You are.
but I have to do those on my own time. I can't do them while I'm working.
Right, it's over and above.
And we've gone over budget for that already because of COVID.
Yeah, well, this year's been sort of, anyway.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Nancy.
Because of COVID, I had to manage the Zoom for them, which took us over budget.
Okay, any other new business before we get to discussion of the community building? But I think just on top of that is also whether, social distancing masks required in the building and so forth, upstairs even, if we want to make changes to our policy.
I wish the policy could be as simple as saying that we would follow CDC guidelines.
Why can't it be?
Or
Then
does
you
it
have
have
to
to
determine,
be?
are you gonna follow national CDC or state CDC?
Well,
Because
but-
there's sometimes conflict.
well, yeah, but next Monday, the word was out of Augusta that they were gonna adhere to that
National.
CDC guidelines, whatever those were at this point, other than schools. That doesn't affect us.
Well,
And
I
I think
think
that CDC even nationally was talking about schools different, that was the word that came out of Augusta, was by next Monday that was gonna be the procedure.
So probably the cleanest way would be we would adhere to the state guidelines, which, if they say that the state guidelines are gonna be what the federal are, well, at least,
Right.
because the state can be more restrictive than the federal, so.
Right, and they could change them later on, perhaps if something happens, they could always,
I mean, you're still
something.
gonna have your plastic shield up there, I mean, it's not going away. So,
I would like to mention that we've had 4 phone calls just today alone to rent out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that we could open up the building again for the purpose of committee meetings. The Solid Waste Corporation Board has been meeting here traditionally, but for the last year or so, it's been exclusively Zoom. I know there's an appetite, at least on the part of some of those members, to get back to in-person meetings.
Well, and the discussion is regarding rentals too.
Yeah,
And
I
I
would
think-
say that would fall under the same category.
Yeah, as long as they adhere to whatever the guidelines are, they probably should be posted somewhere, when they call, tell them what the guidelines are coming out of Augusta at that point, I
are you
guess.
guys comfortable with going back to normal?
Is
Well, you can
everybody of the same opinion?
Yes,
Well, you can still wear a mask, nobody's saying
That's
that
what
you have
they're
to take
saying.
your mask off and burn it,
they're all saying they can still wear them.
Right.
I like
I
the
mean,
idea of continuing to keep plexiglass.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
All right, so let's have a quick vote on that.
How are we gonna word this?
That we amend the building.
I make a motion, we amend the procedure for the buildings with regard to COVID to adhere to state CDC guidelines.
I'll second.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor? Passes 3-0.
Put in that it's May 24th, and it
Yeah,
begins May
yeah,
24th.
start May 24th. That was. Do it.
I always find out where the public comment section of the meeting at.
Oh,
Not quite, it's the next item, but I was just gonna say, you really don't have to say May 24th because we're following whatever the guideline is now, and then on
Right,
May
right.
24th, we're following whatever the guideline is then, so.
Yeah,
The
that's
change on
true.
the 25th.
Now, can I ask about the time? Do we start opening up till 5 now?
I think you should.
I would say, yeah,
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
let's get back to
right.
starting next Monday.
whatever that date
Well,
is.
you know, how much, has there been anything said about cleaning and all that stuff?
No.
In any of these guidelines? I mean, they did make the, comment that it's very, 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 very rare that someone could catch it from someone who's already been vaccinated and, they touched the tabletop or something or whatever. So I don't know what the guidelines are. Cleaning.
Yeah, I don't-
That's something you have to deal with.
Did you all get your Echo Maine invitation?
Oh, yes.
Okay. That's- All right, any other new business? All right, then, public comments, I take it you have a comment.
Maria Dabry, 16 Woodland Road. I have a question with regards to, the relationship between our board member and the selectmen. Is there a requirement for our board member to talk to you, provide any kind of update about what is going on with the Board of Education in RSU 13? We have every other committee come to these meetings and provide updates except our board member.
Are you talking about school board member, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And yet that represents 70% of our tax dollars. And I just, after last year, I made many attempts to go to their Board of Education meetings, which were canceled, postponed, et cetera, then the COVID. And as I mentioned, their method for having their meetings is very unsatisfactory because you can't participate.
Right.
You can listen and watch them in their little blocks on your screen. And you can send an email to some email address that, if you're lucky, you'll get a response within 24 hours. Not very good. And as I mentioned, I trolled through that website. I've spent the better part of the last 2 weeks trolling through their website. It's very difficult to find things. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there, but not the kind of information that I want, like their preliminary budget. That's why I asked you, do you have a detailed budget? And it seems you do. But yet I haven't been able to find it, so maybe you've gotten it through some other means. I don't know.
Didn't they, sometimes they drop off at the town office a copy of the budget, like the airport, county, that's not the airport. So you can go
So
through it.
do you have the ability to compel our board member to come here?
No, it's just like the county has no
Okay.
obligation to
Do we
report
have
to us.
a recall method for our board member?
Well, I would suggest giving her a call and talking to her, just to get it on record that you did,
Well,
it's.
I'll do that. I mean, I emailed her, last fall, and she never acknowledged my email ever.
Well, she was away, I think, during the winter, but.
Well, it's email. Wherever she is, she should be
Right.
responding to her email when it concerns school board business, because I was concerned about that business with the principal at the middle school, which, the entire
Right.
town heard about, but we
Right,
never
right.
received any kind of response as to what actually took place to, address that
Yeah.
situation. And I guess the way that they addressed it, which is in case you aren't aware, I found this out because I did call into the Board of Education and spoke to the superintendent's admin. She told me that this gentleman, the principal of the middle school, is retiring. So, I figured it was highly suggested to him that he retire. Probably, but Okay, so we can't compel our board member to come to these meetings.
So it doesn't seem unreasonable to me that if this body wanted a report from our school board member, we could in fact invite her to come, but we can't
Compel.
dictate her that she comes, compel her to come.
So we asked her very nicely.
We could invite her to come in and give us an update on the current budget, but she's one member of 9, I think, 9 members of the school board. She can't speak, she can only talk about her opinion on things. She
Well,
has,
she can tell us what's going on and her opinion. You know, as I said, I was on the last, meeting that they had. She didn't do any talking. So not a very, didn't participate much in, that meeting, so.
Yeah, see, when they get on the school board, they seem to, think that, probably maybe right, so they represent the school and the students, not the town they were elected from. That's sort of their.
That's a problem.
Yeah. And years ago, the school budget used to be segregated. I mean, it's segregated. There's like 10 articles, and they stopped that. Now it's just one article, so it's either yes or no. But in years past, the administration budget always got turned down. They didn't do anything. They just put it right back again, the same amount, sometimes more. And it passes. But now it's one vote. It's yes or no on the whole budget. You can't say, well, I don't think they should be spending this much at the middle school or however they divide it. It's, you beat your head against the wall.
Well, I don't know, we've had increases in our taxes, how many years in a row now?
every year.
Every year, because
Well, we've had new
That's the
schools
biggest-
too.
that's the biggest.
I know I asked this last summer when we had our townwide meeting with regards to how that formula works with, our, assessment, and that to me is still a mystery. How are we assessed?
It's 75% value, property value, and 25% student enrollment, I believe is the.
Why property value?
Because we're all rich, because we live in Owl's Head. Right? I mean, that's because they figure if your property's worth $1 million, you've got the means to pay more than the guy's property that's worth, 200,000.
Is that a state mandate, or is that?
That's, well, they can change it. They did change it. It was 100% property value, I think, years ago. And they did change it to 75-25, which doesn't do us much good because, we keep losing students. Doesn't have any effect because it's only 25% of our assessment.
One of the things to consider, Maria, as well, is that because Owl's Head is the smaller population and only one representative, she could vote in opposition of every increase and every hire and all the things go along with it, but it's a weighted vote in a certain way.
No, I understand that, Gordon, and I truly, if you couldn't hang your success on one person. You would have to lobby other members of the board. If you had a particular thing that you wanted to either get through or prevent, etc., you'd have to convince 5 of those 9 people.
So if I understand you correctly, under the current format for the school board meetings, there's no public comment session set aside?
No. No, they use video.
Right, but during that process, there's
There's no
no
way for
blocked
me
out
to
time.
get into that meeting. I don't pop up on the screen and put up my little hand and say, oh, can I speak? No, your method for speaking is sending an email.
Yeah, but you have to agree that the format that we follow is pretty loose. In most towns,
Well, we
most
had Zoom meetings.
in most towns and most municipalities, when you have a live meeting like this, the public gets a chance to speak one time. But then here, it seems like anybody in the audience at any moment on any issue can raise a hand and be received.
Gordon, I've gone to the Rockland City Council meetings, they have public comment at the very beginning.
Yeah, and
You
after that,
stand
you're
in
done.
line, and if you speak, and you want to speak again, you just get to back.
Yeah, but at some point, that public comment period ends, and end of discussion, unless they change the rules for that particular issue.
Yes, but I've also been there where, there's been a lot, hot topics, and they've extended the public
Sure.
comment, so yes, you're right. But they've been flexible with that.
So the public hearing that they normally used to have, I don't know if they're just gonna have it by Zoom this year. The actual public hearing for the budget, not the regular school board meeting, but they always had a public hearing each year. And people could go and get voted, the whole budget got voted there, or, well, the whole budget get voted to send to the voters. But, everybody was always outvoted because, all the employees show up. People just, it just wasn't worth it.
Community, why would the employees have the ability to vote?
Oh, well,
If they
it's
live
their
in-
tax money.
They live in the municipality.
Right, their money.
No, but that's what I'm saying, if you have a teacher that lives in Union, why would they be allowed?
Oh, they
to
couldn't,
vote?
oh, they couldn't.
It would only be
No,
the
it only-
residents of
yeah.
the 3 or 4 towns that are in this.
Yeah, you have to, you have to be a resident to go, not to go to the meetings, but to speak.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, any other public comments? Any other
Well,
business?
Russ is hiding in the corner up there.
Okay,
I wasn't gonna speak on this, but Maria prompted me to do this. Russ Wolfers, former chairman of SAD 5, I'll call it SAD 5, I don't know what they call it now. I went to Rockland, but the school board, I was on the board for 12 years, almost 13. At every annual, at some point, the selectmen did ask its representative to appear before this meeting and talk about either our budget or what's going on. So with all due respect to Maria and where your position is, I think the select board can take a more forceful position and invite the school board member to be here. And invite the school board member to be present with and bring along somebody from the administration, whether it be Pete Orn, who certainly knows the numbers explaining the budget, or the superintendent. And I'd be disappointed if there's concern out there that we don't do that. I know the 3 board members that we had at the time in this town never objected to coming before this meeting and explaining what was going on. We did feel we were voted into office, or took the position at the voters' insistence, not the school children's insistence or the administration insistence. So our loyalty is to the town to represent the tax money the best we can be education. So I don't find any fault with what Maria's saying. So I just pass that on, that I would encourage you very much to send a nice letter, but one that didn't leave too many options not to appear. Particularly if she's not getting any response, because that shouldn't happen. I did have one other thing, if I could. From the last meeting, I did talk with Maine Municipal Association regarding some of the issues concerning the planning board and where we're headed. A couple of things that came out very clearly that I think that I want to pass on. Ken and I both watched a video program, training program. I want to thank you for funding that. I've encouraged the board members in entirety to watch that. One of the critical issues that came out of it is we are not policy makers. And somewhere along the line here, we're being asked to be a policymaker. I reaffirm that with legal counsel, that the board itself should not be looked at as a policymaker. With the issues that we have coming before us now, it is clear that at our next meeting, there'll be an opinion or a second round of some sort of proposed ordinance from the appellant's attorney. I don't know what the board will do with that. Again, the question comes down to, is it spot zoning and are we policymakers? So the urgency to get it forward to you folks to either call a meeting or not, I don't know where it's going to go. Maine Municipal was very clear that if it's going to be a special meeting or a public meeting, that you folks as selectmen or a comprehensive planning committee or comprehensive ordinance committee actually have to be part of that, not the planning. So that was the crux of the conversation. Thank you.
Thanks, Russ.
Anything else before we tackle the warrant?
So to wrap up for Maria, would it be important to you for us to invite our school board member here? And would you attend with questions?
Absolutely, it would be important to me because I'm very concerned about the curriculum. I mean, the budget is, concerned about that, but I'm also very concerned about the curriculum. And, as I mentioned earlier, my comments earlier, and I think that, it would be worthwhile to listen, I would like to question her with regards to her understanding of what's being taught to our children. With regards to critical race theory. They're not calling it that on the website, okay? But when you dig deep and you look at all the materials, that's what it is.
Yeah, I have no idea what you mean when you say that, but that's beside
where
the
our
point.
children are being taught that that they're, the color of their skin that they're born with, if you're white, you're just automatically a racist. You haven't heard about critical race theory.
Yeah, there's a lot out there about that, and there's a lot of concern about
And
that
that's what
too,
they're
the way it's
teaching.
being
And
approached.
I have it on my tablet. It's pretty shocking.
So, Mr. Chair, perhaps we could, in fact, entertain the idea of inviting Susan Thomas, right, is her last name?
Yes.
School board member Susan Thomas to attend a meeting in the very near future for the purpose of giving us a report and perhaps fielding some questions.
Well, if we wanted to touch on the budget at all, the only time to do it before the budget vote would be on June 7th.
I think it should be in that sort of a lead into the budget. If we have it, then, because the budget's gonna happen right after that.
I would further request that that invitation is specific to the amount of time we would devote to that process. I wouldn't want her to come in and then it's open-ended in terms of we just keep her here until we're done asking questions. There should be a fixed block of time.
Right.
Okay.
And I would further ask that we include the superintendent of schools.
You have the 14th as our meeting, but we're the first and
Probably school
third.
board meeting that night.
I
Mondays, no, they don't have Mondays.
So I don't know if you heard me, but in addition to the school board member, the superintendent of schools, so they would come as a pair.
Right.
Yep. We pay their salaries, they should answer questions.
So invite them to June 7th, 4 p.m. We can have them as the first item on the agenda too. That'd be fine with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and if we
they're
could block
available
out
at 4.
like 15 minutes is what we want, because it could go on.
I mean, they've attended before. I forget what they were, was it discussing the new school? Oh, it was the plan or something, the overall plan. They attended our meetings for that.
Yeah, quite a while ago.
All right, I see everyone's ready to bolt out, so go on your horses.
Yeah, right. Don't get run over.
Thank you for coming.
Stampede.
Here's the interesting thing too, this is off the
You're
record.
right.
Controlling their stuff for
We're
the-
not off the record.
Oh.
We're still running.
Oh, okay, well, it doesn't matter.
No, I've read a lot about it,
I've
and
been
comments and stuff
looking
too.
at their website for the last couple of weeks, because the curriculum director, Stephanie somebody, I forget her last name. She didn't want to answer my question, yes, no, on the phone. She just directed me to the materials.
Yeah.
And what I was able to look at 2 weeks ago versus today, they've removed access to some of the stuff that was there 2
Really?
weeks ago.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a question to ask our school board member. I mean, all that stuff, definitely should be available for the public.
So, I mean, there are resources for the teachers, things like how to teach if you're white, Okay, you know, critical race theory teaches our white children that they're the oppressors and children of color are the oppressed.
This is going on everywhere.
No, I know it is,
Yeah.
but, you know, there's also a huge backlash going on as well, you know, parents being involved, because this is bad for all of our kids.
Yes.
All
Oh,
of
that's
our
why a
kids.
lot of them are being home when their kids out of school.
Because critical race theory in and by itself, it's racist.
Yeah.
And
That's the way you're taught. I mean, that's how you're gonna be.
And, you know, I'm also wanting to know if they're teaching what I call revisionist history, you know, the 1619 project and.
Yep,
all
what
of
about
that
that
stuff.
too?
Yeah. Well, I read a
Well,
lot.
those would be, you know, those would be good questions for a school board member. They're part of the curriculum. I mean, they're the ones that, you know, have the say over the curriculum, or they discuss it, certainly.
Are
I don't
all,
know who has the, you know, the final say.
do we put up advertising for the school budget voting day?
Yeah,
And are all of the communities involved voting on the same day?
yes,
Statewide,
yeah. It's that June vote.
but it's not specific to just the school board.
Yeah.
It's just an election day.
Right.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, there could be other things. Sometimes there's bond issues. It's primary day when they have primaries, when there's an election. There isn't one this year.
Right, right.
So
There
it's
are
it's
questions.
probably just a school. I don't know if there's any bond issues or not. I haven't heard of any. So it's just a school. There's one vote. You vote yes or it's two. One's a vote school, one's a regular school. You know, yes or no.
Yeah. Well,
Thanks, Maria.
anyway, thank you. Have a great day. Great evening.
Tom?
Yep.
And Linda, I'll just point out that on Terry Moran's timesheet.
Yeah.
He wrote a note to Pam that I'm finding more pieces of shingles around the building. The roof needs attention. So that might be something we want to look into.
Sounds like the
I'm assuming it's this building.
yeah, I know, I've seen the roof. I've seen the roof, you know, going by, you know.
But we had a request for money for that before.
Well, it's probably
Well, we
time.
had some work done on the facade, some of the building structure, but I don't recall that it included the roof.
No, I don't think we've done anything on the roof.
Whenever you want to make a motion.
Yeah, just see if anything jumps out here.
I don't think so.
No,
Frank has all his different positions.
yeah, well,
listed,
that's,
but
you know. That stuff's in the budget. All right, I'll make a motion, we approve the warrants as presented.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor? Passes 3-0.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Have you signed everything
Thursday,
yet?
second.
I think that's separate. All right.